Welcome to Alumni Takeover Week, everybody, in the room and on Zoom. My name is Stephen Hammer. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Communication and Media Studies. Throughout this week, we've invited alumni to join us for conversations about their careers in order to give you all insight into different career paths, industries, and get some advice on how to enter and thrive in these fields. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Michela Bussard, a seasoned professional with a diverse background in marketing and communications. Michela is currently a senior media planner at the DiD agency, where she has been for almost 4 years in various roles. Michela's expertise spans strategic planning, brand development, and digital marketing. Her passion for innovation and commitment to excellence have consistently driven her to achieve outstanding results. Michela is dedicated to leveraging her skills to create meaningful impact in her field. So I'm excited to welcome Michela back to Hawk Hill. And I have a list of questions I'll be asking you, Michela, followed by Q&A. So folks in the on Zoom, feel free to put things in there. And folks in the room, you can kind of come up with your questions, or you can send me a message and I can pass those on by way of Zoom. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with, Michela, some career-focused questions. Could you describe, within your current role, the core responsibilities and what a typical day or a week looks like for you?
Yeah, so just for background, DID agency is a healthcare marketing agency. It started out as a creative agency, so doing a lot of graphics, creatives, and then it's kind of expanded into project management as well as media. So I specialize in the media category. I guess the best way to explain my title, because media is very broad. If you see those banner ads on like a cooking.com, I am one who helps get that banner ad up and kind of target as a consumer those ads. So, but a little bit differently, we are in the healthcare space. So instead of targeting consumers, we target healthcare professionals. So a little bit of like household names that you would recognize is L'Oreal is one of our clients. So CeraVe and La Roche-Posay, we work with them very closely. They're our client, but not for the consumer side, but more so for the healthcare side. So sending ads to them, healthcare professionals, and then so they can see our studies of how, I'm trying to give an example, of how like their face wash works well for acne or eczema, etc. That's kind of a little spiel of what healthcare media is, though.
So you're thinking audience, audience, audience most of the time. Is that fair?
Yeah, for a majority of the time, audience is definitely key. I feel like that's the bread and butter of what we do,
Mhm.
as well as strategic planning. So, um, we do a lot of e-newsletters to healthcare professionals, when the right time to send those out. There's a lot of nuances of it all. It took me probably a year and a half to really fully understand the whole media aspect of everything. There's a full funnel of how it all works. So it's very, very, it's crazy and chaotic, but I guess targeting is definitely key.
Mhm. Okay, so how did you decide to pursue this career?
So I actually had no idea what pharmaceutical media advertising really was. It kind of fell into my lap. I spent
Mhm.
the summer after graduation looking for a job. The market was a little bit rough just based off of COVID. But ultimately, I networked all throughout the summer, ended up meeting someone on the shore. And she was like, I'm going to get you a job. And I was like, great, that's awesome. So she ended up having a connection at DID agency, and the only open role was an analyst position. And I honestly was open to anything. I didn't know what I really wanted to do at the time. And I applied. I didn't get that job, but they really liked me as a candidate. And they said, we're trying to expand our media capabilities. Would you be interested? And I jumped into it and ended up getting hired the next week. So I was really excited. And I was honestly, we're a very small team of, at the time, I think it was 9 members, so I was the ninth hire.
Mm.
Awesome.
So you weren't hired for like your dream thing at first, but that got you in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Right.
being willing and able to try something new.
Mhm. So what surprised you most about your current job?
Honestly, like I said, I had no idea what pharma advertising was, and I come to find out it is really big in Philadelphia. I have 4 friends that work at 4 different agencies just in Philadelphia alone doing pharmaceutical advertising. DID is definitely one of the smaller ones, but we're all very closely connected. We do pretty much the same thing. My roommate downstairs, she works for another agency and is doing the same thing as me every day. But yeah, I would say that is the biggest surprising part. I feel like after college, I didn't really know what Philly in the area around offered in terms of, like New York is very big with ad agencies, but Philly is definitely ad agencies, but specific to pharma.
Hmm. That's interesting. I didn't know that either, but it sort of stands to reason with our sort of like um, the medical industry infrastructure and education here. That does make sense.
Mhm.
So how did you get your this question is how'd you get your first internship or job? So I think you kind of told us maybe about your job. Did you do an internship?
So I actually was a Foley Fellow for Be Social. So I
Mm-hmm.
considered that kind of an internship at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I would say when I was applying for this job, that was the biggest thing that they had questions. They were like, what is this? Like, can you explain more? Even just not even me being having the fellowship, but even just being a part of the class. If you've been in that class before, definitely add that to your resume. You learn a lot of things that are parallel to what is in real life, career life, the real world, I guess you could say. Very things that are very tangible, and they just you learn a lot that you use day to day. I also was a graphic design intern for a small jewelry company called Lizzie Lurch. I was doing small advertisements on Instagram and Facebook for their team. Very minimal work. I did it for, I think, a semester. I actually got that job talking to a friend at school. So that was my background, but I would say both helped me where I'm at right now in terms of the graphic design role. Um, I actually wanted to be a graphic designer in my career, but that internship actually steered me away from it. I've decided that I enjoy it more as a hobby and like a side hustle than an actual job, just because sometimes your clients don't see the same eye as you as a designer. So I prefer it to keep it as a hobby, but that's what I learned from having that internship, which is great.
So how did that conversation go with Be Social? Because this is something I try to talk to students a lot about in comm, particularly when you get into the outward facing courses where they're working with people, right? So Be Social is the best example. If you haven't heard of that class, students in here or students on Zoom, this I think is kind of one of our maybe our signature course where folks go out and work with nonprofits in the communities, help them with different kinds of communication needs and so on. But that stuff is real, right? And so sometimes when you get out there, like looking for your first job, they're like looking for experience, and then people go, "Oh my God, I don't have any experience," but you do, right? You have more. So can you tell me more about that conversation, like in an interview setting, how you were able to sort of frame your experience like your experience in courses and how the receptive they were to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the biggest thing that I pointed out was exactly what I did when I was in Be Social. I helped with, I remember Cradles to Crayons. I did a video for them. So having skills within Creative Cloud, I was able to add that in. And then also I think it was Birch Run Hills Farm. I still remember it like it yesterday. We did photography for their website, so a little bit more e-commerce. So I was able to add those specific skills that I've learned onto my resume. And then when talking about it, you also have those soft skills. So being able to talk to the partner specifically, those are huge for when you're just getting into your career. As a job recruiter, they know that you're not going to have a job previously in your life unless if you had an internship. They know that you're not going to have 5 to 6 years background, but having those soft skills are definitely very important. I would say even when I interview people for my team, like we really look into, are they able to effectively communicate their needs or their their role to like, let me start over. Are they able to like effectively communicate as like a professional? And I do think Be Social helped me grow as a professional, and I didn't realize it until later on either.
That's wonderful, and really helpful for us to hear, even just like selfishly me as faculty. Um,
So
uh,
that class holds a special place in my heart. I really loved it.
yeah, for sure.
I learned a lot.
Good. That's great to hear. Um, what are the ways that your organization or your industry demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, so I'm pretty proud. I work at an agency that really puts DEI to the core of their mission. I would say like a best example is that we have multiple sessions monthly, such as like World Mental Health Day or Pride Day or Women's Day or Women's Month that we just had. There's always like awareness raising sessions. They also have, I'm blanking on what they call it. I think it's like master classes. So then you're able to raise awareness of like personal and systematic bias. Just making sure that we're always, well, they're doing their best to make sure that their employees feel safe and comfortable in the environment that they work in. So I think it's very important, and I'm really proud that they have that at their core front.
That's great. Can you provide us with we've talked a little bit about interviewing and networking. It feels like these have been pretty important pieces of, I guess, your both when you were here and transitioning to where you are now. But can you provide us with some interview and networking tips that have helped you?
Yeah, I think the basic one is just strike a conversation with anyone. Like I said, I'll give you the full story, but I met down the shore. I was down the shore with my friend for her birthday, and we were on the beach, and we started talking to this woman who ended up being a professor at St. Joe's, actually. She was a graduate professor. And I just started talking to her, about CIL. And all of a sudden she said, "Do you have a job?" And I said, "No, I'm actually looking." And she said, "I let me help you. Let me look at your resume. Let me see what I can do." She ended up helping me for a month, and she's the one who got me the job at DID. So I would say don't jump to talk to anyone you can. Even if you're down the shore, if you're in a grocery store, you never know where that conversation may lead you. Um, and I'm really, really grateful for her. I still talk to her once in a while today. So it's really awesome. And always keep those contacts in your back pocket. If you met someone, even like 4 years from now, say you met someone and you just want to just keep up with or stay in touch with them because you never know when you might need them again either. Yeah, I would say that's my best advice.
That's really good advice. I think that's what my years of bartending taught me, right? Like the value of just being able to talk to somebody and the things that happen if you're just open and you're like easy to be around and easy to talk to. I think this makes a big difference because I think people offer things like that to people that they'll enjoy being around, generally speaking. Um, More advice. What's something you wish someone told you when you were in this classroom or in school?
Um, So when I was looking for a job that summer, I remember I was looking for like the biggest name brands out there. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a job with like, I don't even know, just I don't even, trying to think of an example, like Supergoop, like a sunscreen company. Like I was like, I want to be a graphic designer for them, or I want to be a social media manager for them. And it wasn't until I realized, there's a lot of opportunity besides those big companies and those big names, and they can offer you a lot. Being DiD is super small. We're, I think, 200 employees now, but we were just acquired by a London company, or a UK-based company. So we're a little bit bigger as the
Mhm.
years have gone by, but smaller companies can be a huge opportunity for you, just the same as a big name, um, in the field. So keep your, even if it sounds small, just go for it. Try it out, see what they can offer you, and hold your worth there too.
That's great advice. I think it's like awesome to have an ideal, a dream. But I think sometimes we need to figure out how to get there, right? And maybe the there that we wanted maybe isn't the best there either, um, for us. That's good advice. So I know we already talked about Be Social. You already talked about your internship. Um, but can you give 2 to 3 maybe experiences that students should think about engaging in while they're in college to help prep them for entering a field like yours?
Yeah, I would say biggest thing, get a head start of your resume. Go to the Career Development Center. I did not take advantage of that, I'll be honest. But I wish I did because I know a lot of it, and it worked out the way it was supposed to for me, but I do know a lot of individuals, a lot of friends who went through the department and they were able to have great success with even just getting a resume down. It took me so long to figure out what to write for myself. So take advantage of all the resources that St. Joe's and the comm department have to offer. Trying to think of anything else. I would say also Excel. I never thought that I would use Excel as much as I do. I use it way more often than I had ever thought. So definitely, if you can take any like classes that Google offers, or if there, I remember St. Joe's offered back then like an Excel competency like course.
Mhm.
Try to add those to your resume. They'll seem really, really boring, but I guarantee you it'll help you in the long run. And then it's another thing that you can add to your resume. I wish I did those more, especially when I had a lot more time on my hands as well. But I would say those are the top two, I would say, as well as Be Social, like I said before. But
Yeah, and you can totally talk more about Be Social too. So you took it both as a student and then you were a fellow.
Mhm. Correct.
And I don't know if folks in here know a lot about that class, but if you want to talk more about that, I think that's really helpful to know too, because sometimes students get to be a junior and or a senior, and maybe they haven't that hasn't come on their radar. But if you want to talk more about that class, I think that is helpful.
Yeah, definitely if you have the opportunity to take it, I say go for it. Not only are you adding something to your resume, but you're also giving back to your community. You're also taken as a professional in a sense. I remember I just enjoyed having that human interaction other than college life. It was outside in the real world. So it was very cool to have that under my belt as I think I did it as a junior and senior, maybe sophomore, I can't remember exactly, but it was just nice um, to have and to work towards for the semester as well. It was just like a nice, fun addition. I am best friends also with some of those people from my group, which is crazy to think. So not only is it great for your career, but also great for your social life. But yeah, I would say that's my favorite parts. Um, yeah, and again, the soft skills that you gain um, as well.
Great. Um, okay, so this is another question that might overlap with some Be Social things, but what are some courses that you took at St. Joe's that helped you prep for the job market, either directly or indirectly?
Um, I would say, I mean, I started as a business major and I switched to comm, so a little bit different, but I would say when I was a business major, Excel, again, that was very helpful. As a comm major, I would say I feel like I learned about media early on, um, through like the comm department as a whole. I feel like you guys definitely, um, were a nice foundation for my career path as it is right now. Um, in terms of like specific courses, I can't remember the specific names, but I remember even just for my graphic design hobby, I have a side hustle. I do logos on the side, and I learned a lot from the graphic design courses that I was able to take as well.
Awesome. Um, so, what advice would you give to students as they think about the job market?
Yeah, so I would say the job market, no matter where you're at, it's scary to think about. But I feel like don't don't be too scared of it all. You never know when something's gonna fall into your lap. Like I said, I was on LinkedIn all summer long of summer 2021, and then towards I think August again at the beach. I was not on LinkedIn. It just kind of fell into my lap. So just keep up with networking. You never know where that opportunity will come from. I know people who talked with someone in class who, actually my roommate, she talked to another girl in class, and that's how she got her job from right out of college. So you never know. Talk to everyone. Talk to anyone you can about your career goals and see what they can offer. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
How does your Jesuit education impact how you work, or the career decisions you've made to date?
Yeah, so with my career specifically, I talk to a lot of people every day. Within my agency, I talk with the creative team, the strategy team, project management. It's a lot of communication. Um, amongst different types of personalities. But at the end of the day, you really have to make sure that you're always putting the person first before the work, I would say. And that's, I feel like the core of my Jesuit education was making sure that you're treating people right, and properly. So just making sure that even though it's a crazy day, um, it's people at the end of the day, so treat them right. And I do think that it does make an impact with how you perform as an individual at your job.
I only have one more question planned, but I see in the chat if anybody has any questions, now's a good time to maybe start thinking of any. Um, if you want her to expound on any question, we've got one already in the back, but I've got one more. Um, I think the last one is something that we try to talk to our students a lot about, particularly like when you're a sophomore starting to think, a junior starting to think about internships and things like that. And I think that's on people's radars a lot. And there are a lot of questions surrounding it. But let's say somebody wants to sort of like be where you are, out of college a few years. Are there any kinds of internships or places for internships or considerations with internships that you would sort of uh, have them think about or think through?
Yeah, so if you're interested, I do believe my company does internships. So I'm happy to provide a link, or just follow us on LinkedIn. I would say that's your best bet is just making sure you're putting yourself out there. And also, I would say, even though I didn't have like a proper internship, like with that graphic design small jewelry company, it really told me something that I didn't want to pursue graphic design as a whole, as a career. So even if it seems like a lame internship, just try it out. You'll learn something from it, and you'll be able to use those skills for future. You'll either know that you want to pursue that path, or you don't. But definitely keep your eye out on LinkedIn, talk to people. I can definitely send a link to you after this to see if we have any internships available for any of those who are interested.
That's fantastic. So LinkedIn is a place, is the place where you did a lot of your sort of research, reaching out, connecting with people.
Definitely LinkedIn, I would say, was the biggest one for me.
Uh-huh.
Also, you never know if it is a smaller company, see if their Instagram, if you send them a
Mhm.
DM, I think that can be pretty valuable. I believe someone actually did that at my agency before, so they landed their summer internship with us, just sending a DM. So really be creative, honestly. Go on TikTok even. You never know.
That's awesome. I'm sure I'll have more questions sort of as we go. But I know I have one question in there. Come on up. You want to come up? You don't have to come up if you don't want to, but I got a chair. Where you can say hi and whatever. And also, again, folks in the chat, and other folks in here, please feel free to ask any sort of questions.
Michaela, hello there. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Heard about how your company, DEI, love that. If you need a guy for, cocoa butter, Vaseline commercial, I got you. Even with hosting, I do some hosting here for the basketball games. I got MC background, so if you need, the Hawk will never die. So please stay in touch.
Yes, definitely. I've been to a few games, so I recognized you actually.
Recognize. That wasn't a question. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was your non-question question?
Well,
Right.
I guess I'm graduating 2 months, at least I hope. Um, did you know what you wanted to do by May when you walked that stage? Like,
I had no idea. And it's okay to not know either. I know people probably tell you that all the time. I'm a core believer in whatever is meant for you will not pass you. So um, just try to see go into your interests and your hobbies, see if there's anything that you can find on the field. And then it'll kind of tell you, like I said, with the graphic design background, I thought that's what I want to do and then it wasn't. I tried out to be an analyst, and then they said, actually, we think you're better for media. So you never know. What's meant for you will always find you. So,
thank you.
yeah, of course. Good luck.
I'm gonna need it.
We have another question. Do you want to come up or do you want me to pass it on? I don't know if she'll be able to hear you from there because my mic is here. Got another one.
Hi,
Hey, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good.
You kind of answered this a little bit, but after graduating and like going into that post-grad summer, what helped you stay like optimistic and productive when you were like job searching? And did you have any like personal setbacks?
Definitely. So half of my friends had a job and then the other half were still actively looking. So I will say, as one by one friends got jobs, it felt a little bit daunting. I was kind of losing hope, but honestly, like talking with my friends about wanting to um get a job right away, like they helped me. Just stay connected with your people. They'll support you because they want to see you grow, they want to see you be successful, so definitely lean on your support system. I definitely had some hard times. I actually am not from the Philadelphia area, so I was also dealing with, if I didn't get a job by the end of the summer, will I be moving back home with my parents, which I think is a lot of people deal with after graduation. But just keep the hope. Like, you never know what's going to happen. Like I said, it really fell in my lap at the right time, at the right place. And so you never know what's going to happen. So lean on your support system, talk to your people, and yeah, it'll work out the way it's supposed to. Mhm.
Now, let me look and see if we have any action in the chat. Nothing yet.
Michaela, can I ask a follow-up to the question that was just asked, which I think is a fantastic one? How did you not take things personally? Because I think that when I work with students who are going through the process, who have graduated, and they have friends who already have jobs, most of them are in more kind of traditional majors. Your accountants are going to have jobs right away, where communication studies students tend not to. And a lot of that is that accounting firms can anticipate their openings, right? And that doesn't necessarily happen with some of the types of roles that you were applying for. But I know from talking with students that it can be very hard to balance, like not taking it personally, not having that kind of thought come into your mind. Why doesn't somebody want me? So how did you balance that?
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to. It's almost like you're given with no choice. I chose to kind of fuel that fire in me to get a job. I would consider myself at the time of graduation, I was pretty shy in terms of talking to strangers. So I think towards the end of the summer, I felt a little bit desperate in a sense. But honestly, it worked out. Like you just gotta push yourself beyond your boundaries. And also your friends and your peers, at least if they are your friend, they want to see you, they want to support you. So you just gotta support them back at the end of the day. Also, I feel like that's kind of like the Jesuit education in me as well, probably.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, come on up. We've got another one in the room here.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Ashley.
Hi.
I'm an art major here. I'm a sophomore this year. And I was just wondering, since you had that graphic design, like art background, did you see any or have any classes that were helpful with the networking and internships with that realm while you were taking those few classes?
Yeah, definitely. I would say my graphic design teacher, I don't know if she's still there. I had talked to her after class a few times to see what connections she had in the art field. At the time, again, it was COVID, so it was a little bit of a tough market. So there really wasn't much out there. But I would say talk to your professors because you never know. I have sisters that went to St. Joe's, and my oldest sister, she actually got her first job out of college just talking to her professor as well. So definitely take advantage of your favorite professors in the art department. You never know what opportunities they can have for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Good luck.
Got another one.
Hi, thank you for coming to speak with us.
Yep.
So comm is kind of like a really broad field from my understanding. I'm pretty new to the communications field because it's got like, there's elements of art and visual design and writing and more than that's not coming to me at the moment. How do you like explain to other people that like even though it's such a broad field, it's got real world skills that you can apply to like a number of different jobs like that aren't maybe exclusive to like graphic design or advertising?
Yeah. I would say kind of if you want to, I would edit your resume to the way that you want to go, if that makes sense. So say you want to be like in more like I don't know if St. Joe's offered this, but like podcasting, for example. Like say there's a course that you took on podcasting. Angle your resume so then it's geared towards that relevance. And then when you have that opportunity to talk to a recruiter, make sure you speak on that more specifically. And then give them the specific examples of what you learned in class. Definitely use your resume as your tool to be able to best explain your what kind of avenue you're trying to go into. I don't know if that
Thank you.
helped. Of
Thank
course.
I think that's smart. I think that, and I know Scott, you could probably talk a lot about this and other folks on campus who help students with resumes. Like that's such an underrated document in terms of its flexibility and it's sort of like the way that you can mold that to show who you are, right? It's not like a list of things that you have to put there. It's like, what do I decide to put there and how do I frame myself? I think that's an underrated skill that I wish more folks took advantage of with the resources on campus. That's not a
Definitely.
question, it's just an addition.
And you never know also, like you can have 3 different resumes. So say you have an analyst role you want to go to, or like a graphic design or a media. Have 3 different ones for those different avenues. So be more analytical in the way you're talking on your resume. Be more artistically specific. I don't know how to explain graphic design really on a resume right now, but putting like Creative Cloud on your resume instead of Excel, examples like that.
For sure. I have two. I haven't updated a couple of them for a while, but I have three. I have a CV that's academic, and then I have like a couple of other ones, like side ones. So yeah, I think having more than one is a really, really good advice.
Mhm.
Other folks have questions that they're thinking of in here or in the chat. I'm not seeing much in the chat right now. If you're in 174, you can come over for a question if you want to ask it. We're in 150 right now, Michaela. You can probably remember that.
I recognize the room.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I have a question, and it's might be tricky, and if you don't know, that's fine. What's something you thought was really important when you were sitting in these classrooms that's not as important as you thought it was? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think sometimes we get hung up on things and then years later we go, God, I was stressed about the wrong thing.
Um, Trying to think. Honestly, I was really stressed over my grades all throughout college. And then when you get to your career out here, no one really asks you for your GPA or anything. They just want to make sure that you're I mean, certain jobs definitely do. I shouldn't say that, but like my job specifically, that was never asked. And I definitely, there were nights where I'd be stressing or when I was applying for a job, I purposely didn't apply for a few because I was probably like, oh, they probably won't like me because there's way better candidates out there with higher GPAs. Um, that they really don't care about that out here, which is crazy.
I
Um,
think that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything more specific. It's been so long. But that's a good thought starter. I'll think about it and I'll get back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even half of it is in the question. Like the things that we stress about, we kind of forget that we stressed about them and life just changes.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, it's crazy. But I also do think, I do believe like the things that we learned in those comm classes, like I said, I talk with my roommate all the time about those things that we learned. So whether it has an impact on your career or personal life, I think could be
Mhm.
both, honestly.
Yeah. I see another Zoom participant, Dr. Lyons. You want to get in on this or are you just here to lurk?
Oh no, you're on mute.
Just lurking, sorry.
Oh, you're just lurking. Okay. All right.
Hey, Michaela.
Hi, good to see you.
What's next for you? What's like, I don't want to say like, don't be happy where you are, but you've had a job for a while now. Where does somebody now, where you are now start to think? Are you thinking of what's next? Do you have, because I assume these things never stop. Like even when I got my job as a teacher, then it's like, okay, I have new goals or I see new opportunities that I didn't even know existed before. What are you thinking about now?
Yeah, so I would say I'm really lucky with my job specifically. They take our personal goals very seriously. So I would say every other quarter, we're looking at our individual goals as a professional and seeing where we can be in the next year or 6 months. So we create goals constantly. So right now, I'm actually looking for a certification with paid search on Google. That's like my next big step. I'm supposed to be learning from our search associate at the agency. So it's optional. Like I don't have to do it, but I feel like I've been doing the same, not the same thing, but it's nice to have an additional, I don't know, expertise element to your career. So that's my next step. And then also just constantly, I don't know, hustling to get to the next position. I was just recently promoted to senior, but I want to be supervisor. So I'm working towards that right now too.
Glad you said that, the certification that you're thinking about. I'm certain that, you know, in all of the sort of subfields of comm or whatever folks do after, there are these little things that then we kind of need to keep learning about. Like sometimes I feel like college is like a big broad base, and then you go somewhere and then you start building up higher somewhere. So those are even maybe things that students could think about, getting these like smaller certifications, depending on what they're thinking of doing, or looking at people who are already out in their field and their resumes and what kind of certifications they have.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any harm in getting a head start on those. Honestly, I wish I did it earlier, when I had a little bit more time on my hand. Yeah, definitely. And also it's very cool what search is now, especially with the world of AI. I'm sure there's also learn about AI too. That's huge right now. I don't know if that's talked about in class today. But definitely look into that as students, because I feel like the world is definitely changing, at least my industry for sure.
Okay, I have a super selfish. Oh, Scott, do you want to come
Yeah,
in?
Michaela, can you talk about work-life balance? I know that before everybody else joined, you and I were just commenting about like work from home. You mentioned that your significant other was at an accounting firm where for months he was working till 3 in the morning. And I think we talk to students a lot about work-life balance, but until you get into a job, it's very hard to understand what that means. So as a young alum, can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely struggle sometimes with work-life balance. It's easy to kind of get caught into your 9 to 5. But I think it's important to, and let me explain a little bit more of that. Taking home with you at work. So I feel like I've only been in a remote or hybrid type of role. So it's easy. As you can see, my bed's right there. So it's very easy for me to bring my work and my work stress back with me to bed or back with me to my personal life. Having work-life balance is definitely shutting down your computer, making sure you're not thinking about work outside of your 9 to 5. I definitely struggled with that in my transition from college to having a career. And I think it's something everyone struggles with, just because it is crazy the differences between college life and then having a corporate life. But you learn it eventually. Sometimes in different careers, like you mentioned, Scott, my boyfriend, he was an accountant for, I think it was 4 or 5 years. So he had busy season. So from uh, October through end of March, he was working some hours until 3 a.m., which ultimately didn't really serve him. He paid his dues and then ultimately found a new career that has that work-life balance for him. Some people, they love that like nature. They like that kind of environment. Personally, I am unable to do something like that, and he was unable to do that either. But ultimately, just making sure that you're taking care of yourself outside your 9 to 5 is key. It's easy to get wrapped in it all. But at the end of the day, as me and my friends say, like stress from work, like you can close your laptop. You don't really need to take it home. At least with our job specifically, me and my roommate, we're not saving lives, so it's fine. Like as long as you get your work done and you do the best of your ability, that's all you can do.
Thank you.
Of course.
So we're closing in on time. Does anybody else in the room have a question? No. I'll ask maybe a selfish question to kind of close our time together, Michela. What do you wish that you would have learned or done that we didn't do here? So this could be either like at St. Joe's, what do you kind of wish existed? Or in in my classes, what do you wish that you had done? What would be helpful? This may be less for my students and more for me and Mike and the crew.
Honestly, I think something like this was missing during my time. Having alumni come back or just having speakers talk about their careers. Like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I really loved the comm department. Like I loved every class that I took. There was nothing that I probably would have changed because I was excited to learn every day. But with that, going into corporate America, I didn't know how to translate that into a career. So I think this is super important, making sure that everyone's taking advantage of these calls. You might not be into media, and that's fine, but there might be another speaker who you're like, wow, I actually really enjoyed that conversation, and I want to learn more about that industry. Take advantage of it because I wish we had that for sure.
Well, that's wonderful close because now I can thank you for being here. Please join me in thanking Michela.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for providing insight. And I think you're right. These conversations are so helpful because there are a lot of question marks going through college. And I think the question marks get bigger and more frequent as you go along. We're really grateful for your time today, Michela, and hope to see you back on Hawk Hill soon.